Scoundrels web series and podcast is filmed and recorded in their ship, the Centurion Vulture, and may contain language not suitable for all. Viewer discretion is advised.
Okay, here we go. Welcome to Scoundrels, y'all. We are broadcasting from the Centurion Vulture. I am CG.
I am Paul Bannister.
Curtis Wayne Millard standing by.
We are always three grown-ass men discussing Star Wars, and it is the Mandalorian season, so we are on, Season 3, Episode 5, known as, what was it called? The Pirate. And I think this is the moment. Curtis, why don't you hit us with that rewind, dog?
Scoundrels Rewind.
Yeah, let me stumble through this bullshit. Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 5, The Pirate. We find ourselves back on the planet Nevario with Action Jackson. But don't get too prosperous. Fucking pirates turn up. The Pizza the Hut inspired Mossman pirate is pissed. They shot his men, and he is in no mood for negotiation. So it looks like fun is back on the fucking menu, scoundrels. Amen. The pirates unleash hell on Nevario. Action Jackson takes his people in retreat. Finally, some Y-Wings, some fucking X-Wings, some old rebels hanging out in an outpost. They receive the distress hologram from Nevario. Of course, there's some politics involved, but we do get a pretty cool live-action cameo from a rebel character. I know Paul will have no fucking clue who that is. To that note, I'm not gonna look his name up because fuck it. And there's some political bullshit, and anytime there's some political bullshit, we have to go to fucking Coruscant, of course. Hard-ass officer chick is there. We get in the weeds with her, a pencil-pushing bureaucrat, and an old war vet. Obviously, there's some tension there. But Nevario is under pirate occupation. Action Jackson is sad and under a lot of pressure. So the rebel captain says fuck it and goes asking Mando for help. R5, aka Red, tipped him off to where the Mando cave is. They have a campfire to discuss the issue, and the Mandalorians are like, fuck it, let's fight. This is the way. While the pirates are on Nevario, being pirates, Mando swoops in and busts some ass. It looks like fun is a dish best served with fucking jetpacks, blasters, dogfights. Babu Frick's buddies are there. Salacious Crumb's fucking family's there. Shit. It's a battle. The Mandalorian crew beats most of the pirates, and in an act of desperation, Mossman pirate, decides to blast the townspeople. Bo-Katan and Mando are like, hell nah. They bring the pirate ship down in a blaze of glory. We get a Bim Burt sound effect in that moment. I don't know if you realize that. Everyone is celebrating. Action Jackson gives the Mandalorians a bunch of land, but Gold Helmet wants to speak with Bo-Katan. She thinks Bo-Katan can unite the Mandalorian, sends her off to find more of these fuckers, without her helmet, I may add. So once again, they can unite the planet Mandalore, but we're not done here. The old rebel captain finds an old shuttle. It was supposed to have transported Moff Gideon to prison. Apparently shit did not go well. There may be some evidence that a Mandalorian was involved. Who is on your suspect list? Fatu Black and Scene. Woo! Good lord.
Curtis, that was really good.
Good.
I might even think that was your best one yet, dog.
I think so.
Well, man, I can't talk. I can't read. For some people...
You did great. You got through all the stuff. I was like, that was like the right pace. I liked it.
There may be some evidence that I'm a good lover, but that's a different podcast.
That is a different podcast, but I would listen to that podcast.
Yeah, we'll start that one.
Sign me up.
I drink a little energy drink before each one to get me reading and writing.
Yeah. Well, got the magic bean juice here too.
So what do we do? What do we do now?
I mean, CG, I feel like you're always a good place to start.
Okay.
I like Chris is a good starter. He's a good starter.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when the story isn't that strong, it always feels like the episode has an uphill battle to climb.
Yeah.
Like we experienced this in Obi-Wan, where it's like if you're not digging it, then every details that you would normally overlook become bigger. And again, there's some awesome moments in this episode. A lot of fun. The fucking pirates. I love that they added the pirate music. I don't know if in the Mando theme they added like a pirate touch to it. But
fun.
It was just, again, it's like the story. I could finally kind of see the first view. Like I said last time, first viewing I had of this, I didn't love it. And then I watched it again, and then I'm starting to see, okay, they're trying to connect this and they're trying to connect that. I mean, they're really throwing Rebels. I know, Paul, you don't know about Rebels, but Zeb, who is a huge Rebels character.
That's his name?
He's the one that, the alien-looking creature. He looks great, actually. He looks like he's a total CG character.
Looks like a full CG character.
He's in my notes. I didn't know who it was, but I made a note of like, why is this character CG? Interesting, because I do also think it looked really good, the CGI. However, it's striking when they go to a CGI character in an environment where all the others are not.
Yeah.
It starts... I don't know if I necessarily make it a criticism, but it actually... I think undermines the quality of the CGI when you literally put it in the same environment with a character. Like the bartender and everybody else in there.
Oh
and
my
honestly,
God, the bartender.
I still prefer the practical guys, honestly.
The ET wig on the bartender? Did you like what that was like? What is this?
I noticed that she had like a kick-ass 80s wig on.
Like this like ET like wig.
Was she a snaggletooth? Remember that fucking snaggletooth guy that they sold?
I think it might have been.
I have that fucking figurine somewhere.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was a snaggletooth. Anyway, keep going, CG. Sorry.
But no, it's just little things that kind of bug me. Like what's the story? And I think they are. And at the end of it, I was like, okay, I see. And I think the final story is going to be cool because I think it's going to be Mando versus Mando. Obviously, they gave a hint that whoever captured Moff Gideon from the shuttle, which is insane by itself. Like it seemed like no one knew like this was going on.
One fucking shuttle dude. That dude should have been on
criminal in the galaxy, currently in the galaxy, and you're like, well, did he make it? Didn't he make it? So I don't know if there's a cover up in the New Republic.
Well, I think there is,
they
right?
Said that,
classified.
Yeah, there's obviously a cover up.
Right.
And I think the Mandos that left Bo-Katan's clan are the ones that broke off Moff Gideon. And is it going to be where Bo-Katan has to choose which side she wants to... Are they going to either unite or fight? It seems like they might fight, and I don't know if Bo-Katan's going to go on the side of her old crew and be like, well, maybe I challenge Mando and get that Darksaber back. Oh, shit, yeah. Or is she going to... But yeah, like, because, after watching it again, I started enjoying it a little more. I mean, the pirates are pretty cool. I mean, that's like... It's pretty cool seeing the Mandos kind of kick ass. But again, it's... I don't know. I wonder if it's under a lot of scrutiny under my eyes because of... I'm not really convinced of the story yet.
Yeah. I'm with all that. I liked it. I'm like you. I watched it twice, this back to back this morning.
Double viewing.
I have the same low-level gripe about the pirates I did when they showed up in the second episode or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they look great. I hate the Pirate King. It looks like Pizza the Hut, as Curtis appropriately is describing it. It looks like a bad Muppet.
Maybe they should have just used pizza.
Well, I mean, honestly, again, it's that A-B comparison. If Genevieve was here, she'd laugh because I always use the phrase A-B comparison. So she'll be like, oh, is it an A-B? Do we need to do an A-B comparison, Paul? But even some of the pirates around him were some of the other pirates who did look appropriately somewhat menacing. Then when you go to this goober, he looks like a Fraggle or something, like it just doesn't, it's not intimidating. And then I kind of had this thought of like, well, you being overly harsh, you do want them to use costumes and physical practical effects. It's like, I don't think I'm being harsh because all I wanted to do is be as intimidating as the physical costumes in Return of the Jedi at Jabba's palace. Like all the people in Jabba's palace were kind of dark and spooky. Some of them were a little like, oh, that's kind of funny, but it was still overall, it seemed like a dangerous environment, and everyone seemed like
they shot that a lot darker.
They just aren't presenting it.
They had some of the same characters from I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the same. Some of the same pirates. Did you notice a pig pirate? Pig pirate.
Yep,
from one of the from like one of the scavengers that were like, I think from Cloud City.
And that's risky though, right?
Yes.
Because when you use the same species types that we've seen done so well in the OG trilogy, you're again forcing us to do a comparison in our brain, whether we like it or not. And I hate to say it, but sometimes when I watch the Mandalorians fight this Pirate King and the way those all look, it's like, is it closer to the OG trilogy or is it closer to fucking Power Rangers? Because sometimes it feels a little like between the Mandalorians' helmets and the puppetry of the pirates, it's like this is not blatant Power Rangers vibes, but it's not light years from that. And it just seems like they could be making directorial choices to make the bad guys seem more menacing. It just feels a little cartoony to my eyes. And I don't know.
I think they did take a half step. I think they took a half step closer to cartoon in this season.
I think so too. And okay, I'm glad that you feel that way. So I'm not crazy. It does feel like it's just.
It don't bug me though.
Power Rangers reference is pretty spot on.
Yeah,
it's a very good comparison.
Even the Mandalorians fighting, which is fine. I wasn't like bummed with that whole sequence. But again, you know, once we've seen Robert Rodriguez introduce Boba Fett, like they could be more badass in the way that they execute their fights. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem like. Yeah. For 2 seasons, they were these amazing warriors. We've heard all about them, and that's part of the mystique and what makes it fun. And now when I see them fight, if I'm honest, I'm sort of like, are they going to pull this off? I don't really know. And it's not necessarily from a story standpoint, because now I just don't know that they're being depicted as badasses. I mean, the same thing with the weird helmet dogma, and when they talk about, well, now we're going to have to find another hole. We don't even have any ships. It's like, well, why the fuck don't you have ships? Like,
how
what are you doing? What are we doing?
How did they get to that planet with a smelter and all that? I was like, well, if you're only 2 ships on this planet are the Mandos and Bo-Katan's, how the fuck did you get to this planet?
Who came out of hiding to call the moving company so you could go from point A to point B? Maybe we're not supposed to think. Maybe we're not supposed to think this hard. So I want to love all that, because I think for me, if I zoom out, the story in this episode got better for me in that all along I've been saying, of all the things they presented this season, which I'm not sure I'm in love with any of them, but if I had to choose a plot line so far in the season that I'm most interested in, it is the Mandalorians and the internal politics and who's going to unite them or lead them, or like that's all relatively interesting to me. So I'm down for spending more time on that and moving that storyline forward. Yeah. And it is kind of a fun little unexpected thing at the end that some version of a Mandalorian was involved with getting Moff Gideon out. I'm like, okay, the plot thickens. I feel like that could have happened in episode 3, not 5.
Right.
It also seemed a little convenient that the bad guy chick just happens to be standing one door away from the moment that the rebel captain comes to see. By the way, shout out to Tim Meadows, the ladies' man.
I love Tim Meadows crushed. He did crush it.
So Chris, you know who Tim Meadows is?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm not ultra familiar with his work, but I know he was big in the 80s and 90s.
He's one of the longest running SNL cast members of all time. He was on SNL.
He's a badass.
He's he's the lady. Ooh, it's the lady.
He crushed it in that role. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I kept waiting for him to go, that is disgusting. I kept waiting for that to happen.
Now anyway, that you mention all this,
the writing was convenient again. And,
I wonder if they took an internal decision to be more cartoony, starting with the Book of Boba Fett, because season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian. I haven't even thought about this as much as you guys, and I'm glad you mentioned it. Season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian are more metal. When I say metal, there's just a little bit more badass. Like, Boba Fett would literally crush a skull with his bantha
Correct.
stick.
Yeah.
Right.
And shit,
Man,
then I would be like, holy
guys in
fuck.
half with doors.
Yeah.
He
did. Yeah. And then do you want me to take you in warm or cold? And then Luke Skywalker show up and he would bust some ass. Starting with the Book of Boba Fett, it kind of became a little more cartoony now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah,
a little bit more Flash Gordon-esque.
You're right. Yeah. It feels that way. I hope that you're not right, that they made a conscious choice to do so, but it does feel a little that way. I hope it's not a way to make it more consistent with what's going to happen in Ahsoka. I did read, since our last episode, an interview with Filoni talking about the future of Star Wars and blah, blah, blah. I always get nervous with Filoni. And one of the things that was interesting is he talked about how great the directors were to teach him. And like Kathleen Kennedy had him go on set with Rian Johnson, and Rian Johnson was super hands-on in teaching him how to direct and how to do this, that, and the other. And all that's great. But what it also told me is this dude's not experienced as a director.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean he can't be brilliant.
He's done animation.
Animated, right. So
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is I'm not trying to shit on Filoni all the time. I know he's a great dude and like the uber Star Wars fan. But again, with the limitless resources of Disney, when you can hire virtually anybody to oversee these series, to put it in the hands of a guy who may have his heart in the right place, but has the thinnest resume in the industry for live action, big deal, marquee storytelling, it's given the keys to like a 16-year-old to go drive your fucking Ferrari and hope he doesn't wreck it. You know,
He's gonna
I don't know if that's
take
relevant
his
to
corny
what's happening in
cartoon
Mando.
element to a live action Star Wars, which I don't like. I mean,
I didn't know that CG character was a Rebels character. That makes that a little more concerning to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they're going to tie in any animated series stuff, I would prefer it to be Rebels. But, I mean, that's the second one between the space whales and even Bo-Katan's all over Rebels.
Isn't that where she came from? No, that's not where she came from.
I mean,
No,
I guess
she
it's
came
fine.
from,
I shouldn't shit on the characters because
Clone
if
Wars.
people like me just choose not to watch Rebels and they're really done well, for all I care, they're just going to be interesting new characters in Mandalorian, and that's fine. Like, I'm not bummed on the Bo-Katan character, so obviously, it's not on principle characters that come from Rebels or shitty because I'm into that character.
I think you guys are right when you say they're just kind of flying off the seat of their pants, because like we talk about it all the time, season 2 ending was perfect. They could have ended the whole series at season 2, and now it just feels like they're struggling to find something interesting, and now they've got their hands in like 4 different cookie jars. I think the Moff Gideon storyline is weak. I find that storyline, and it's like the little details in this episode, like how the X-Wing pilot was able to find just the droid. It's like, so he just had some kind of tracking device on R5 and he could find the Mandos. Like, that's a stretch. It's those, and the thing is, when the story is weaker, it's under more scrutiny because it's just like stuff like that, little things. Like,
why was he finding
you have
that
perfect
shuttle?
endings, man.
There's too many coincidences. Like, if it's a whole giant galaxy, the fact
how did
that
he? That's a very good point.
But do you see what I'm doing? The show, from a writing standpoint, doesn't just expects us to not think those things are weird. Like the fact that woman, the bad guy, just happened to be next to the office while that guy showed up for the conversation. This guy just happens to be the one rebel captain in the entire New Republic who finds, like, the shuttle, the smoking gun that reveals that Moff Gideon is free and that the Republic knew about it because it's classified. He just stumbles across this thing floating in space, and nobody else in the entire galaxy was the one to stumble across that. It just is weak. Like, it feels lazy. It feels lazy.
I mean,
it feels like,
this whole thing is lazy. If he would probably be wanting to try, because he's like onto the plan, but like the whole thing is weak though. I can justify why he'd be looking for the thing, but then I'd be justifying the fact that this season is weak. But this fucking episode was fun for me. But you're right.
It was fun.
The overarching
You're right.
situation's weak.
Yeah.
I mean, Curtis, you pointed out in your rewind, I will say.
This should have been episode 3, though.
The second I saw the Y-Wing, I was like, oh, Y-Wing!
Yeah.
And then seeing the X-Wing and the Rebel, I keep saying Rebel, but New Republic barracks and all that.
Yeah,
that
we get it, though.
Great.
We get it.
But isn't that also easy again? Like, we're always going to jizz our pants over OG Star Wars visuals. Like, seeing a Y-Wing makes you think of fucking Return of the Jedi. So, of course, we're stoked to see an X-Wing and a Y-Wing fly around in the same place. That's always going to be exciting.
I love a Y-Wing.
But the thing that I will
Sweet
come back
bombers.
to this whole season that I think is my overall continuous gripe is I'm not emotionally invested in any of it. I'm entertained and I want to know what happens next. But when you compare seasons 1 and 2, I'm not emotionally invested. There's not enough with Grogu to feel emotionally invested in. I don't feel like the Mandalorian's in any meaningful danger, and half the shit he spent time on this season, is like redeeming himself in the waters. Like, none of it has any emotional pull. So right now in season 3,
I don't want to admit it, but I don't give a fuck about the Mandalorian's tail. I don't care about the Mythosaur. I don't give a fuck about Bo-Katan. I care about Grogu, and I care about Mando OG.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
I think they're
But he's
straying.
barely.
Yeah. No, what you say?
He's barely in it.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like, we're used to seeing Mando just kicking ass, and it's like, how many, and I had that thought after watching this episode, and yeah, he was kicking ass in his Naboo Starfighter, but like, how many times have
Those
we
dog
actually
fights
seen
are
Mando,
fucking
like,
so fun, though.
do his, oh yeah, they're fun, but
Yeah.
how many times have we actually seen him do his thing this season?
Yeah.
And
you're
it's
right.
not very often, and I know Christopher Lloyd is casted in season 3.
He is?
What, Doc?
Doc Brown.
What?
I saw that somewhere
Great
that
Scott!
Christopher Lloyd is casted in season 3, but he's yet to be. So I'm hoping.
Can we just do a
'cause I
Back
could
to the
see
Future
him
podcast?
becoming. Yeah. Oh fuck. I mean, it's perfect movies. Back
It's
to the
a perfect
Futures.
fucking film.
There is perfect
man.
films.
It's literally perfection.
But
Zemeckis.
I'm hoping that's true. But when I was going through because I was trying to see, who the cast members were in this episode, and I just saw Christopher Lloyd's name, and I was like, "What? What's this?" And it said Christopher Lloyd has been casted in season 3. Mando has yet to be, said who he is.
He's not the voice
So
of the
I'm-
Pirate King, is he?
No, that's what I was looking up. That's
okay.
somebody else.
Got it. So he's yet to be on screen, but
Yeah.
he's been cast. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what we got 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys?
and it's
yeah.
just, yeah.
God,
I
you're
mean,
right. 3 episodes, which at most are like, I feel like the longest episodes are like 45, maybe 50 minutes
Yeah,
long,
50
and that's
minutes,
including
yeah.
like the recap and the credits. So really, in terms of screen time, we're closer to 30 to 40 each week.
Yeah.
So they basically have like 90 minutes to wrap this up. That feels bad.
Yeah. I could see
90 minutes.
potentially, yeah.
90 minutes won't make me emotionally invested in anything. I think they've overestimated how much we have emotional investment in Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian mythology.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do enough work on that in the
Well,
first
we
2
don't.
seasons.
I think a lot of people
Yeah.
do, though.
You think so?
Well,
I think people that like the Clone Wars are really love this bird and this.
but do you think
shit.
they love it? Like, I hate to sound like a woo-woo about it, but there's a difference between having fun and being entertained, but having like an emotional tug on your heartstrings when you get invested in the characters. Because I wonder that a lot of the people who are stoked on it and the ones in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I guess the generous way would just say apples to oranges, but I think that we and a lot of the people our age that grew up on this, the Force and the Jedi and the father-son dynamics, and again, like, how many moments can we point to in the OG trilogy that weren't about action sequences, that were just fucking emotional, where you're just completely wrapped up, like Han going in carbonite and saying, I love you, I know, or Luke burning Vader at the funeral pyre at the end. Like, those moments give you goosebumps emotionally that have nothing to do with the set piece. And I feel like for a lot of people who are prequel lovers and some of the stuff, like, you can love it, but there's a different kind of love of, this is so much fun, I'm having a great time, versus I am going to get teary watching what happens. Because when...
no goosebumps.
No goosebumps. The finale of the second season of Mandalorian, look, everyone knows this, but when Luke shows up, it wasn't just that it was Luke. It was executed well. There was hints of the music, but it was also the culmination of 2 seasons worth of Mando and Grogu's dynamic, and him taking off the helmet and seeing the emotion on his face. Like, that stuff got to everybody emotionally, and that's why it was a big deal, And we don't have any one scene in this entire first 5 episodes that is based purely around the emotional interplay between the characters. It's just about dogfights, set pieces, cool costumes, look at these locations. And that shit's always, it's done well. We've commented on it before, but I feel like we're getting half the ingredients this season that we got in the first 2 seasons. They're serving up the fun without the soul, I guess.
I've got no gravity of any situation.
I had a lot of
you
fun
said
this
it-
episode, but
but
it's just
fun.
what happens
I
when you have a perfect ending for something. Like Return of the Jedi is a pretty good ending, and the ending of season 2 Mandalorian is a pretty goddamn good ending. It's like when you're like, all right, well, let's just keep going. That's when you'd be like, oh, wait, there's another fucking Death Star? It's a planet now?
Yeah.
Wait, there's still stormtroopers? Luke Skywalker's like a fucking bum? What?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
wait, like Grogu? Like, what's going on? Like pirates?
it's,
You're right.
So now we gotta hang out. Yeah. It's tough.
My favorite
It's tough.
parts
I
of
don't even
the-
know what I would
yeah,
do to make it better.
I don't know if they can. Like, my favorite parts of the original Star Wars is like scenes with Yoda on Dagobah, where he's just talking about the
of
Force,
course.
like it's around us.
Yes,
it's like
well
those are the
said.
moments that are my favorite.
Frank Oz is my fucking dad.
Oh, dude.
Amen.
There's no gravity in
My
this.
fucking
It's
dad,
just
too.
like it's turned into, like you said, like a power. Like it's a perfect comparison because it is fun.
I'm okay with all that cheesy shit, though.
I mean, I could see potentially seeing this Bo-Katan finish if that's where they're going. Like maybe it's Mando Clan versus Mando Clan. But I also feel like they're trying to tie in the New Order type stuff.
They are.
On top of this Bo-Katan, on top of this Grogu backstory. And I feel it's just like they're in over their head. And like this episode was like the homeboy who's just luckily running into Mando's, luckily running into the shuttle. It's just, I mean, and like you said, it's like, it's cool. And it's like, I could see where the story's going. But do I really care? Not really.
It doesn't
I don't
feel
care
earned.
overall. But I did have fun. I was stoked on this episode, but I do not care overall, which is like double-edged sword, I guess you would say.
They should be concerned about that, though, because I think we were texting about it, but I have seen a few articles in the last week that viewership is down this season.
They should be. They should be concerned.
And I gotta believe it's got something to do with that. I mean, think about it. Grogu and Mando should always be the emotional core of the series at its core.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the relationship between the two of them. And right now, Grogu is a side character that gets to pop up. And it almost feels like when they do use Grogu, it's just to try to like remind us that he's cool. Like getting shot with paintballs or doing a flip. It's like, that's not what is gonna get us off when it comes to Grogu. It's like, give us an emotional moment where he's concerned about Mandalorian, or put him in danger where Mando has to like put himself on the line again to save this kid, or what. Like, this is
like
the
that
core
episode
thing.
too, when he was in where he had to leave and Mando got trapped, and that badass scene with Grogu. Like, that's where I felt we were back on track. It's like it's like what happened with the Book of Boba Fett. It's like, well, then they have like a Mando episode, and then now I feel like this. It's like, where's Mando and Grogu in this season? It's like now it's turning into like the Bo-Katan story.
Now we know why they had that Mando episode. It's just the only reason they did that is just so Grogu. It's the only reason they did it is so they can have season 3. You're like, oh shit, we got to get Grogu back.
I think
even though it doesn't make any sense.
Marvelizing this where you have to watch everything to understand what's happening, which
you know
I hate.
What? I said it earlier, I didn't know what I would do to make this better, but I think I do know what I would do to make this better. I would make it not about hardly anything. I would make it just about some sort of mission that Grogu and fucking Mando have to be on, and it's just their journey, and fuck all these other people.
Yeah.
You might run into some people, but just like get them on an 8-episode mission, and maybe it's a very small thing, but it's just them two having to deal with shit, and then like... Fuck all these other weirdos, man.
No, you're right. You're totally right, because they are just like they're prominent characters in a story that's not about them at this point in the game. You know what I mean? They're prominent characters, yes, but it's not about them anymore. It has nothing to do with Grogu at all. And again, with that flashback sequence of Grogu from Order 66, whatever the fuck it's called.
He is the soul. He is the emotion of the entire series.
Correct. So clearly they're going to return to this in some capacity, but with only 3 episodes left, I almost hope that they don't do it this season, because if they do, there's not enough time to crack open a whole new thing and execute it well. Like at this point, I think they're just going to have to leave that on the sidelines and pick up whatever that's going to allude to in season 4. But I'm with you, CG. The Moff Gideon thing smells a lot like somehow Palpatine has returned.
Yeah, it does. It is. And it's not as bad, but it's pretty fucking cheap.
Yeah. Well, and if they're really trying to tie in the New Order and trying to make the sequels better than they are and trying to make them make more sense, they're not really doing a great job of it.
No.
And unless something turns around and makes it better, and I could see like you say, the Moff Gideon's head honcho girl, how is she just like the number one stunner? She's basically a prisoner. She's marked as a prisoner, and yet she's like, hey, going down the commissary. Oh, I just happened over. You guys need any photon fizzles?
I was heading down
Right. They're doing a half-off photon fizzle sale downstairs.
Half off photons, baby.
You guys want some?
I don't know.
Doesn't that seem strange? You know, like, how is she?
If that character's supposed to be annoying, they did a great fucking job.
Yeah. I think it's annoying because it's
know, man.
cheap. We know when we've been served up something that put thought behind it, and when we've been served up something that we're like, well, we just need to put this person here, so we'll just move this character, this piece of the puzzle over here now. And don't worry if it fits in well enough. We're just going to put it here and just make it so. And you're like, well, wait a minute.
Too complicated.
And I gotta be careful not to do this all the time. But again, we've seen Andor. So we know what it's like when in a Star Wars universe where the characters get positioned in different places and they earn where they are. They are in this location for reasons that made sense, and they had to fight their way out of something, or we've been given an explanation for why they're going to be here. And in Mandalorian, they're just like, whatever, no one cares. We're just going to put the characters in the same rooms together, and it doesn't matter why they're there. It's like, fuck off with that. We're smarter than that, you know?
Yeah. And is no one going to question the fact that the doctor's brain was completely fucking fried and she was the only person in the room? It's like,
is that dude done now?
I mean, I'm assuming he's done.
But this goes
like
to
you said,
CG's
she
point.
turned that thing up to 11.
Yeah, but also you're right. 3 episodes. What are they gonna like? We don't have time to return to the fried doctor to deal with whoever we're gonna call. I don't even know this woman's name. Who's this? The former. You know what I'm saying? What's her name?
I call her hard ass officer chick.
Hard ass officer.
Yeah, hard ass officer
I
chick.
don't even know her name.
Who, by the way. The fact that we don't know her name is also kind of a writing fail, right? Like, how can we be...
I refuse to learn.
Yeah.
But just make it obvious. Anyway, I don't know. We have no time for them to do a good job on any of these story threads, whether it's Grogu's flashback with the Jedi, whether it's this hard-ass bad guy chick, whether it's the Mandalorians uniting or not, the new, it's just, there's no fucking time for this shit. So if they try to wrap up all of these stories in this season, we're fucked. So at this point, I'd rather they just stop and focus on the Mandalorians against each other or not, and just try to do that well in the last 90 minutes they have, and save the other shit, I guess, for season 4. But every episode that plays out, I have a lot of fun watching it in the moment, and then I feel a little cheap. It's like you had like I don't know, whatever, this is like the gross thing, but it's like, look, a random hookup when you're young is fun, but it doesn't make you feel good the next morning. You know what I mean? And I feel a little bit about that in this season. Like, it feels good when you're doing it, because who doesn't want to watch X-Wings and Y-Wings and Rebels and jetpacks? Like, that's all fun.
Dogfights and
But when you have to, like, think about the story and stay invested in a long-term storytelling, you realize how thin it is. And there's not much to hold on to.
It's a little bit of a course corrector, but the course is fucking, like, who the fuck is, like, is...
It's Rainbow Road, man. You could fall off at any second.
It's a little bit of a course corrector, but fuck, what is the course?
There's no time. They've tread water for 2 episodes with these other random story threads that are gonna.
We're too old for this shit.
Nowhere. Yeah. It's like,
you say.
No, I agree.
You say, Paul. I don't want the Mandalorian show to be about the fate of the galaxy, and they're very much putting a lot of pressure on this show to make it about the fate of the galaxy, and it's just not working. I want to see Mando. I want to see Mando fucking like hog tie somebody and cut him in half with a fucking closing door. Like, that's what I want to see. Like, I want to see some badass shit.
I want to see Grogu get better and better at the Force. Maybe he helps save Mando's ass some more moments in the last minute with the Force. Like, those are the moments everyone loved the most in all of the first 2 seasons. That's unanimous. Yeah. I don't think there's anybody who likes the show who would say otherwise.
Whoever, like, is up on this shit is the same motherfuckers that, like, decided to make Boba Fett, like, kind of have a conscience. It's like, I don't know, man.
Oh.
Yeah, no, man.
This dude didn't give a fuck about putting Han in carbonite and dragging him off to Space Slug. Like, he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
He wants his
now
money.
All of a sudden, he's a fucking politician? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, course correction.
I feel like I'm not representing... I am like Curtis. I had fun watching it when I watched it.
Me too.
But when you start to think about it,
this should have been episode 3, though. Like you said, Paul. This should have been episode 3.
CG nailed it. We're fucked with 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
We don't have time for this shit.
No,
that's how I feel about a lot of shows. It's like when I'm watching Game of Thrones, I'm like, damn, y'all, there's 2 fucking episodes left. What the fuck are y'all gonna do? Turns out, you're not a lot.
Not a lot. Right. And then they ended it on an absolute cliffhanger with, like, just...
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're going to cliffhang us.
It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch, but it's died a little for me. Because
I didn't have fun on the popsicle episode, though. That was not fucking fun.
Yeah,
No.
nobody did. I saw a funny meme where someone wrote something like, "This is the way to watch." Someone did a new edit on that episode. It's great. Check it out. And it's literally someone filming their screen on the Disney Plus and then getting
you
to the
sent
end
that
of the
to us, right?
Oh, did I? And they paused
yeah,
it, and then and you see them just scrolling
Fast
through
forward.
the whole rest of
Yeah.
the episode and going right back to picking up where the Mandalorians left off.
Yeah.
You're like, this is the new edit. Just fast forward for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
That's pretty telling.
Jesus.
And I hate to say it, is like, that's clearly that they did that to set up the rest of the future of how this is going to go to some degree. And I don't know that anyone is going to be stoked. And the numbers are down. I mean, again, we'll see how much they can course correct on a franchise level, but it's worth noting for all of Andor's numbers, it's still sitting in like mid upper 90s on Rotten Tomatoes, and the streaming numbers are down on Mandalorian. So I take that for what it's worth internally. I hope they're having these conversations about why that is the case.
They are. If you have a Star Wars show and people aren't like watching it, then there's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Especially Mandalorian.
Especially
Yeah.
fucking Mandalorian. That's like, it was their flagship as far as
It was their
brought
new
me
hope,
back into
right?
Star Wars.
It was
Disney
the
Plus
new hope for
for
Star
me.
Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Totally.
it brought me because I don't want to say gave up on Star Wars. I mean, I'll always watch something Star Wars.
Yeah, sure, of course.
But
Mandalorian,
I was
got
kind of
me
like, I'm
stoked
kind of
out.
sick of this stuff. And then Mandalorian got me really pumped again.
Dude, that season 2 ending was in my top Star Wars moments.
Amen.
Yeah. I watched
Same.
it again. I watched that. I'll watch that on YouTube all the time. Just for fun. Just watch that scene.
And I can
It's the
literally
reason-
watch the original trilogy movie once a week and be fine, and like literally not get tired of it.
It's hard for me to come up with a single storyline. Like if I had to come up with the rest of how this season plays out based off of where we are right now, I don't know that I could come up with anything that would end up with the level of emotional resonance as the end of the last season. I don't think. It's
she rides a
possible. And
mythosaur. Don't care.
Yep, exactly.
Luke Skywalker
Not that-
can't even save this fucking shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing I would say I'm interested in is them sending Bo-Katan off to try to, unite the Mandalorians, and then finding out that the Mandalorians, the other ones, are probably, I don't know if they're working with Moff Gideon, but Moff Gideon fucked them all up.
Wait,
so
who do you
I don't
guys
know
think
if they,
sabotaged that fucking that shuttle? Was it?
I
You
think,
think
it's
it
the
was?
other.
You don't think it was
Mandos
Boba Fett?
No, I think it was the Mandos that used to run with Bo-Katan.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot
they
about those
hated Moff
dickweeds.
Gideon. So did they break him out to kill him, or did they break him out to like work with him? It's like I don't understand.
Or
'Cause you'd
was it
think
a
they'd be-
setup to make it look like
That I
a
had that
Mandalorian
thought
did it?
as a distraction, so that people would focus on them somehow, or
So there could
Mando.
be that turmoil between the two different sides of the Mandalorians, and it could be a moment where Bo-Katan has to choose either side, and that could be interesting. But again, we'll see.
Who's
Like
on the
slightly
suspect
fucking
list?
interesting.
I mean, because it could be. I had a brief moment where could it be the Forge woman, just because she's got her hands on the most Beskar, like that piece of Beskar they found. In theory, if a Mandalorian died, like I don't think that's because someone, like they're not leaving Beskar behind if they're doing their job well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why would there just be a piece of Beskar stuck in?
Right.
Like that seems interesting. Like
weird.
maybe it's a setup, or maybe who's got weapons made of Beskar. And as far as I can tell, it's only her, right? Because they even made a point of breaking down the staff because they don't want Beskar weapons to just be out there in the world.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, they found there was a shit ton of Beskar at the end of this episode. I don't know if you noticed, Mando was collecting it after the whole raid.
I did not notice that at all.
He has a shit. Like he was right when Bo-Katan had her helmet off and she was walking with the Forge lady chick. You could see him like collect. He's like, it's like almost like the stack he got in season 1 for getting Grogu.
I wondered if her pushing Bo-Katan to unite everybody after she was kind of dismissive of the whole mythosaur thing before.
She might be a mole. A celebrity.
That's what
mole.
I'm wondering. Because also, if this helmet thing is so important, she seemed to come around pretty quick. Like, hey, why don't you go ahead and take that thing off? Like,
Yeah,
why
I was
is
like,
she
ooh,
just,
what do we got
that
here?
was such a big deal before, and now it's like, oh yeah, by the way,
Yeah, I'm
you're
fucking
fine.
done with this helmet
Just take
shit.
the helmet off. It's like, what
Yeah,
are we doing?
It's,
Like,
it's a week.
I'm having a hard enough time signing up for this being a big deal anyway, and then now you're telling me that it's not a big deal. Like, is it or isn't it a big deal with these helmets?
Yeah.
Because we just watched The
It's a cheap
Mandalorian
shot.
spend the first half of the season cruise around to jump in some fucking water hole because it's so goddamn important to keep his helmet on, yet the new girl has been in town for a week, and you're like, hey, just take the helmet off.
Yeah, literally half the
Yeah.
season.
Like, what are we doing?
And it's like, I like how they saved the city to have a planet that they could start working on. They're like, you know what? We need to go back to Mandalore. It's like,
And
you
if the
finally
I-
got a home, basically.
Totally. And the idea
But-
that they're presenting that, well, she takes the helmet off because this way this will ingratiate her to the others that are not dogmatic as a way to unite them. Fine. But does Din Djarin get a hall pass? Can he now take his helmet off in the same vein? Like, why is the new chick the only one that gets to do that? You know?
Yeah,
Because
I'm done with
technically,
this fucking
Mando
helmet
would
shit.
be the number one to send. He's the one that holds the Darksaber. He's the one that they'd listen to.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
the Darksaber. Another
Because
fucking
they abandoned
level
her
of confusion.
if they were going to follow any. And she even says, Bo-Katan even says when we first meet her, I think in this season, you go find. They'll listen to you. They'll follow you. You
Yeah.
have the Darksaber. They won't listen.
Right.
They left my ass because I don't have shit. So why is she the representative? Why do they think that? I think you're right. Maybe there's the smelter gal is up to something. Maybe she's
Could
up
be.
to something.
Could be that. Could be.
I don't
none
know.
of them.
I don't
think
know
it's
how
also-
she would be. She's on this rock with
Yeah.
no ship.
Yeah,
but
tune in
again,
next week to Mandalorian to be more confused.
To be more confused.
Well, that's the danger, though, right? Because they've proven that they're willing to be that cheap in the writing, to where, unfortunately, now all these things have to be options because apparently they can just snap their fingers. Oh, well, you know, they've got this thing and they're talking. Don't worry about how or why. It's like, well,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So there's no need to set anything up. We can just, they're just going to throw new pieces of information at us and
Jump right in.
We're like, oh, okay, I get it. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Cannonball.
Cannonball
I don't know.
Run.
I feel like it's falling apart the more I'm dissecting it. To be honest, I did have fun.
Oh
while
yeah, I was
watching it.
actually really stoked before I talked to you guys. But you guys are right. You guys are fucking
I was
right.
half on the wall.
You guys are right
the
though.
thing is,
You
I
guys
can't
are
now. I
right.
can't shake this this Power Rangers reference you made, Paul. I'm like, well,
It's a problem, man, because it starts to fall apart. Because also, like, you know, the whole cheesy fight sequences, and if the Mandalorians don't get tougher and more gnarly, they're not. It starts to feel like that. Like they
Dude,
just
I
shoot
wanna
their
see them
guns,
cutting
they get
heads
shot
off and stuff,
Yeah, that's what
man.
I'm saying. Also,
I want to
they don't
watch
use their
them
jet
in season
Remember when they were all
one where
boxed
they, where
in?
they show up.
Yeah.
Didn't they show up in season one for a battle? I need to go back and watch some of these old battles just
Well,
to
it's
see if they
also-
look punk ass.
I always thought that the only survivors of when they left Navarro was big fat neck little helmet Favreau and the smelter chick. Where the hell did all these other Mandos come from? Or did
Great question. Yeah.
Well, who knows? They could have been. Who the fuck knows? But you're right.
I don't know.
Also-
this shit does
also, I
not
can't-
hold up.
Yeah.
To
Also, I had it in my
heavy
notes, but I
scrutiny.
can't pull them up. Didn't it seem weird to anybody else? Again, I guess we're not supposed to do this, but Navarro is this thriving town now. They've got schools and infrastructure. They didn't bother to set up one defense system
Military?
to shoot at
Yeah.
anything. Like, there's not even one
Nothing.
big gun to protect themselves. They live in this, like, the outer rim where they know, like, clearly because of the history of the last two seasons, it's rough out there. And no one
Yeah.
bothered to
Rough out
come
on the
around to,
rim.
like, hey, how are we going to protect ourselves if motherfuckers show up and want to start trouble? Apparently, they have no plan for that. It's just like, and also,
I was like, don't you guys have any kind of law enforcement or anything here?
and
Nah,
how
they ain't got
big is
shit.
the population of the town? Because when they were doing their brief, like,
Seems not
we're-
that big.
We got to retreat to Minas Tirith moment, and he's like filing out with everybody. It was like what 30
50
people or whatever. It's like,
Yeah,
oh
they
wait,
it's a
couldn't
giant
afford to
ass
add the CG extras on that one.
I
man.
know. Did they kill? Did they kill like 3,000 other people, or did they just not bother to bring everybody else?
I
Like,
don't know,
It's
man.
looking
The
kind
more
of
we
thin
talk
on
about it,
Navarro.
Well, that's
the
where
longer we talk
honestly
about it, the more holes we're
Yeah.
gonna find.
Well,
and
that's where
that's been my issue.
that looks low budge, because then you could look
Yeah.
at the way we pointed at certain scenes in Obi-Wan, or is that because they just didn't want to cast more extras? Or to your point, Curtis, just CG that shit. Just makes a CGI crowd of people from a distance and then just frame a shot when you cut close that makes it look like you don't need to see 5,000 followers in the background during a dialogue scene, but you can easily create that digitally from a wide shot. Like this isn't
I've done
hard.
it. I've done it in music videos, dude, where I needed a gym full of people and I only had 20 people. You just tell them to move in different places in the gym, and then you shoot 5 different shots and you blend them
That's
together.
what I'm saying.
And like,
You don't
that's
think
me
ILM can
and my
figure this
buddies
shit
in a laptop.
out? I know.
Yeah.
It just feels
It's
lazy.
stretched thin. I feel like Star Wars is getting stretched thin.
Well,
I mean,
there is
there's
a
so
whole
many
thing. They
shows
are
coming
spending. It's like a thing in the news. They're spending less money now.
out. Yeah,
But
probably
where's the
because they have
attention
too
to
many
detail?
shows.
But this is
They
just
get money
creative
per
stuff.
views. Yeah.
But this is not budgetary though.
Well, for
Like,
the most part, I think the damn thing looks really, really good.
Yeah. It
And
looks
I
good.
think the
fights are good.
pirates look better than they do in Return of the Jedi, honestly. But who the fuck cares?
I
though?
guess so. I don't know that it's, or maybe it's the way they presented, or maybe it's the context. They just didn't seem.
I see
that
what you mean, Paul.
They seemed
but
like Power Rangers
they
villains.
seem a little
not,
off.
Not Return of
But
the Jedi. villains.
Pizza the Hut is a little cheesy, but I'm okay to step a little bit towards fun city. But you're right though. This like the overarching, they have taken a little bit more of a step towards Flash Gordon.
Nothing's brutal. Like even in Return of the Jedi, we've got fucking smoking hot Leia in a metal bikini choking out Jabba the Hutt till he's dead, as a way of that whole thing. And yet in the Mandalorian, it's like
the Rancor.
Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah.
And even in that whole scene where they're fighting in the streets, remember when the 2 Mandalorians, like, they're behind us, we're boxed in. Like, bitch, you're wearing a jetpack. Fly in the sky. This problem could be solved with one button. I've watched it happen for 2 seasons, and now it's like,
you
we're
ain't
boxed
And
in.
Mando by himself took out like 50 stormtroopers, and yet a whole brigade of you guys get
so
overwhelmed
weird.
by 10 pirates. I don't. Yeah, it's.
I don't know.
They should have
We gotta stop.
brought back IG-11, man.
I'm not. I just.
You're right, Curtis.
think
The
maybe
longer
it's
we talk
Andor.
about it, the more I don't like the episode, which
Yeah.
is not a good sign, probably.
And
gotta-
as just a fun 30 minutes of my life, I like the episode. The overarching story, I am worried about and not that into.
I gotta.
Yep.
Maybe I'll get stoned tonight and try it again. And maybe if I turn off critique brain and just kind of try to be kid in story time, maybe it'll hit me better. But
Good luck.
I don't think so. I think these things are overarching, like a whole season problem for Mandalorian this year. I think it's really mostly that, and I don't know.
I think the season definitely has a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, again, numbers don't lie. Viewership's down.
Yeah.
They don't lie.
That's it for. I got. Yeah, because we get longer we go, we'll just keep.
I know. I'm afraid that it'll just turn into the grumpy guys.
I ain't got shit
We'll
left.
see what happens next week.
Let us know what
have
you
fun.
guys think. Let us know what you think. Are we crazy? I know we say this every week, but maybe more so than most times. I really mean it. Like, I want to hear from other people about how they're taking this, to see if it's just us and we are feeding into each other's cynicism, and if everyone else is just equally stoked on season 3 as they were seasons 1 and 2. By all means, maybe that's the deal, and this is like I've got a case of Andoritis that I'll never be able to cure. I don't think that's the case, but like, comment, subscribe, let us know what you think. Send us videos, send us whatever you want. I think we probably are getting to a point where we really do need to hear from other people to see if how alone we are or not with these feelings. Because man, CG, your point's well made. We got 3 episodes left. There's a lot to correct in 3 episodes. It seems like a
lot of roads.
Tall order.
And a lot of roads to connect.
Yeah, they have
Anyway,
to tie it together.
Like and comment, subscribe, tell your friends. Curtis, punch it.
Let's get the hell out of here.